Well, the world is shifting, and with the world, so does the economy. And lots of changes are coming down the pipeline. There once was a time where we experienced endless shortages, food shortages, empty shelves, toilet paper, stockpiling, madness. Interest rates. We've seen record low interest rates coming out of the Fed to support an economy that was on the brink of collapse. And it's very interesting as we find ourselves today. The market's changed. The market's changed, and you ask yourself, well, how do I prepare for a pending collapse, pending real estate collapse, potential U.S. dollar collapse, potential further stock market declines and collapse? We could see a collapse of a number of different things, including the used car market, the new car market. There's a lot of things going on right now, and in fact, we're also seeing waves and waves of layoffs hitting us. HomeLight, they announced recently that they've laid off 19% of their workforce. Now, this is not the first real estate company that we've heard of that has been laying off drastic numbers of their workforce. We're hearing mortgage companies laying off their workforce and reducing employee headcount. We've heard that from Redfin. We've heard that from, actually, there was one mortgage company that did $115 billion last year, and it looks like they're on the brink of filing for bankruptcy. I'm going to share more news on that one with you guys. Now, I'm hopeful that we're not going to see any type of, I don't expect that we'll see any type of massive housing market collapse or huge housing market crash to the extent that we saw back in 2008 during Lehman Brothers financial crisis, as well as the global recession that we experienced, 14 years ago. But just days after announcing another $115 million in financing, a company out of San Francisco called HomeLight, and they're a real estate company, they recently announced that 19% of its workforce is going to be laid off. And this comes on the back of remote work being more and more accepted across the board from many different employers. But as interest rates have been drying up, or as I should say, as interest rates have been rising, more and more home buyers are effectively being priced out of the market. HomeLight is the latest of the string of real estate mortgage companies that announced massive layoffs amid a rise in interest rates, and it's got a lot of potential housing consumers concerned. Many people are thinking, let me just sit on the sidelines and wait for this housing market to cool off and see if I can get a great deal on a house. That's a risk too. There's no guarantee that we're actually going to see a housing market crash, to be very honest. And there's also no guarantee that interest rates don't continue to go higher, making housing affordability that much more unaffordable. So there, certainly a lot of caveats if you're preparing for the future. How do you prep for the unknown, right? And so that's one of the variables. Spokesperson for HomeLight said that the 19% figure did not disclose exactly how many employees that the company is going to let go. Two laid off employees actually had spoken. They had actually spoken out, and they essentially put the figure at around 200 people having been let go. So that would put HomeLight at roughly 100 people, and their total the total company might have 100 employees, assuming that that figure is correct. But they haven't shared the details with us. But we're just seeing more and more layoffs, and the layoffs across functions and levels throughout the company. That means that it's not like just certain departments that they laid off. They laid off a wide spread of people. Now, this is gonna have a direct impact on the rental market. Just expect rents to go higher. Rents are going to go higher. Cash is king, especially in a high interest rate environment. If you don't have cash, a lot of people are going to be in a poor position, or a less desirable position if you don't have cash. That's the bottom line. That is absolutely the bottom line in a high interest rate environment. Yeah, so essentially, HomeLight made it public that they're reducing their head count on their LinkedIn profile. And speaking of LinkedIn profiles, part of your economic prep would be to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. You know, whatever skills or big projects you've had over the last, you know, year or so, couple of years, make sure to add those things on your resume, because you never know with this whole labor market how secure your particular job is. And the last thing you want to do is be unprepared. So don't be caught off guard. Make sure to update your resume just a little bit at a time. You don't have to do it all in one day because it's a daunting task. But if you do a little bit at a time, eventually it does get done. And then that way you'll be prepared for the future. And as the Fed chair of the Fed Reserve, they indicated very recently that their goal is to curb inflation by raising interest rates, but they expect that their actions will force unemployment to rise. So basically, the people who control, or the organization that controls our money supply, is expecting higher employment. And, you know, with the average, car payment sitting at around $700 or $800 a month, which is just bananas to think about. You've got the average rent rate, the average, you know, 2-bedroom apartment is approaching $1,500–1,600 a month. In some areas, it's $2,000–3,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. I met a lady the other day. She told me she had a $1,200 car payment. So I don't know what her financial situation is, but, you know, there's a lot of people who have these, they have found themselves in a situation where they're between their car payment and the house payment, or their rent. They're spending roughly 60 to 75% of their income on just keeping a roof over their head and the vehicle. And I actually read an article that indicated these statistics, and it said, and so picture this, right? So if 40% of the population, or I think it was 30%, if 30% of the population is spending 60% of their income on just paying for the roof over their head and their vehicle, and you know, that vehicle, it needs to be fueled, it needs to have insurance, maintenance. So if you're spending 60% of your income on fuel, or your vehicle and your house, you still have cell phone, you have health insurance to pay for, you got insurance on the house. If you have a house, maybe you have renter's insurance, you got credit cards. So you got credit card bills to pay for, utilities. So the point is if you're finding yourself, and if you have a $1,200 car payment, but you're making $20,000 a month, it doesn't matter. You know, it's all about ratios. So, you know, but most people are not clearing $20,000 per month. But I'm just saying, you know, if you are clearing $15,000 a month, you know, and you have a $1,200 car payment, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're making, say, the average income right now, which is roughly $50,000 a year, the average income for the average income in America is about $50,000 a year. It's actually closer to $40,000, $45,000 per year. But for easy numbers, let's just call it $50,000, right? So you're taking home roughly about $4,000 a month. So if you take your $4,000 per month in income, and you take out, I don't know, if your average car payment is $700, gas another $100 a week, that's $400 a month in gas right there. So your car payment of $700, gas $400, that's $1,100. You got to insure the vehicle. Insurance is not cheap, especially on these newer vehicles with more technology, and with the supply chain crisis as it is, it takes a lot longer to get replacement parts in. So when an insurance company is giving a premium, or quoting you for your premium for automobile insurance coverage, they're taking into account how expensive the parts will be to replace. So, and with inflation, you know, parts are more expensive, parts take longer. The insurance company is going to factor in, okay, well, since the parts take longer, we would have to pay for a rental car for a longer period of time because the parts are not available while this destroyed or damaged or the insured vehicle is inoperable. So all of these factors come into effect and they're calculated by these insurance companies, and they're driving up everyone's insurance. And it doesn't help that, you know, every time you turn on the radio, which I don't really listen to the radio, but if I happen to ride with a friend, they have the radio on, you're bombarded with all these different attorney ads that, hey, have you been hit? You know, call us now. We'll make sure to get your settlement, whatever. So all these settlements and all these added costs, the insurance is paying for it. But guess what? Who's paying the insurance company? We are. So if your insurance company continues to raise these rates, it's a collective effect of all these different things. Not to mention, you know, you got the cell phone, the distracted drivers, you know, people hitting each other, and anyway, so you got all that. Anyway, let's go back to the budget, right? So the average person's taking home $4,000. Your car, between insurance, fuel, car payment, you're looking at, let's just call it $1,200. Actually, let's call it $1,300, because there's no way. Yeah, let's call it $1,300. So $1,300 for your car payment, your insurance, your gas. Then, and we didn't even include maintenance, but we'll just skip that just for simplicity's sake. Your rent payment, your rent, I don't know, $2,000. So between rent and your car, you're at $2,300. You're taking in $4,000 a month. So, and the $50,000 a year income that we discussed, that is the average gross income. That's before tax. So it's arguably less than $4,000 per month. But I think you guys get the picture of where I'm going with this. So the higher your expenses are in relationship to your income, the harder it is to prepare by saving, building a good cash reserve. We saw in Canada that their banking system was partially collapsed for an extended period of time. I read a lot of you guys' comments who live in Canada. You guys shared with me the problems that you guys have been dealing with since that incident took place. And I hope that's fully resolved by now. I'm not really sure. I didn't follow up on that one. But so the point is there's a growing number of people who are living so close to the edge financially that will not be prepared for these economic changes that are coming down the pipeline. You couple that with a number of people who were on the market for purchasing a new home, but because of the rising interest rates and the exaggerated home price appreciation rates, many home buyers have found themselves unable to afford a new home. And so where are they going to go? Well, they're going to continue to rent. And if they continue to rent and don't buy a house, that's one more rental facility or apartment or rental property that is not available for someone else to rent. So basically that means that for every person who's no longer a home buyer, that's another renter hitting the market. And we know from the last couple of years, even if you didn't have take economics in high school or post-secondary education, the greater the demand, if the supply is not increasing, but the demand is increasing, the price is going to go higher. And if we look at what the home buyers or home builders are dealing with right now, they're dealing with higher interest rates. Buyers are backing out of contracts. And so builders are getting scared. They're not wanting to build as many new properties because they're concerned with building properties that people inevitably can't afford to buy. So that ends up coming right back to the whole, to the renters. If there's no new properties to buy because the builders have pulled out and the buyers of these new properties are backing out because they're getting priced out of the market, these are all, the population of renters is steadily increasing, and the available properties for rent, it's not really changing. It can't grow. You can't even add to the inventory of available rental properties if the builders have stopped building. So anyway, lots of things are coming down the pipeline, and it's all about preparation. And if you're not prepared, it's going to be painful for you, but it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. There's a number of different financial strategies that can be implemented so that you and your family are financially prepared. So I'll be sure to leave my email in the description down below. If you guys want to reach out to me, if you have any questions, you want to send me a note, email's in the description down below. But if you made it this far in this video, definitely drop me a like, hit the like button on the video, consider subscribing to the channel, And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Take care.